So, upon looking through the vastness of Steam library, you have encountered 0K and decided to give it a try. But you have little or no experience in the RTS genre or want to know more before jumping into the fray. Not to worry, I am here happy to help you. Journey to become a big scary lobster. Best theory is the one backed up by practice, so boot up a skirmish against an easy AI, a map you like, and let us begin. Loading into the match, you will be asked to pick a commander and choose a spawn point. Different commanders excel different roles, so choose according to your playstyle. Also, you can customize them on the 0K site, which is neat. Before choosing a spawn point, you can issue build orders, and by holding shift entire chains of commands, even before the game is started. Start by placing a cloak block factory and nearby metal extractors with equal amount of solar panels, and then choose a spawn point near. And don't forget to place a radar, because that's important. You want to see your enemy. Yeah. Now that the battle has commenced, select your factory and start making units. As a rule, you need to make units as soon as possible to gain map control and pressure the enemy. Units in 0K have different classes, which are told in the description, and those classes are Raider, fast high damage units meant for harassing and overwhelming the enemy. Riot, slower and bigger with AoE or high rate of fire unit, meant for dealing with crowds such as raider swarms. Skirmisher, units with superior range killing the enemy while being out of harm's reach, perfect for dealing with riots. As you may have noticed, these classes have a rock paper scissors dynamic, so choose the right units for the job. At the beginning, what we need is raiders to try and deal damage to the enemy and protect ourselves from it. Now that some are done, let me cover the commands for these little guys. By right-clicking, they will move towards the clicked point. Most units are capable of firing on the move, so no need for any StarCraft micro shenanigans. Speaking of, by holding right-click you can draw a line and the selected units will spread evenly along the line. Since we're firing real projectiles, most units need direct line of fire, so a line of formation allows everyone to fire without issue. If you want to keep a formation, hold Ctrl while right-clicking and the army will move at the speed of the slowest selected unit and remain in formation. A command you will use equally as if not more often is the attack move command. You can perform it by selecting the blue arrows icon or pressing A and left-clicking. During it, units will go towards the specified point and upon encountering an enemy will engage in combat. And since we're talking about advanced robots instead of just standing there like morons in most RTS games, they will actually start fighting by themselves in a fashion dependent on their type. No more requirement for 300 plus APM to simply use a unit effectively. Hooray! That is not to say you should control units manually, but it's still very helpful. There is also Force Fire command on F, which is self-explanatory, as well as Patrol and Guard command. Though, if left click is held on a unit and you drag while Guard is selected, the unit will start running in circles around the guarded target, which can be useful for screening a more valuable unit. As of combat, constantly produce units according to what the enemy has and use them to pressure him. If you don't have enough attention to always order units, and your factory often doesn't do anything, you can put it on infinite production. Do not let the enemy expand and build, always pressure, because the more time you give the enemy, the more options and ability he has to screw you over and cook you. Now that we have a bunch of units, order to make more and let's go and attack the enemy. On your way, you may meet enemy forces and should check for enemy constructors on closest expansions. When attacking the base, try to focus metal extractors and more valuable economy such as fusion reactors. When fighting enemy units, look at what you are engaging first, because otherwise you will simply lose your units. If the engage is not favorable, try to avoid it if possible. Raiders, such as Glaive, beat skirmishers. Skirmishers, such as Ronin, beat riots. Riots, such as Reaver, beat Raiders. Artillery, slings, beat static defenses. Assault, Knight, beat static defenses and big targets, and overall tank damage for your army. There's also special units, but those you will discover on your own. While fighting, most units get a range advantage while retreating, so make the enemy chase you when possible. Stationary defenses, while more cost-effective, are vulnerable to artillery and can just be, well, ignored by walking around. So use them sparingly and use your mobile units to fill in the gaps in your defenses. The less turrets you have, the more units you have to punish the enemy with, the more economy you have to make even more units. Typically, you win by killing the enemy factory and constructors, so he can't build and make units anymore. But usually dealing enough damage to the economy is enough to make him resign, once he sees he can no longer compete with you. You also should not waste your time if you see you definitely lost, and simply resign to hop onto the next match. Just don't be hasty like Xerxes. As of the economy, there is that aspect too, which is just as important if not more important. While you are busy making the enemy cook in a pot with your units, you must use your commander and constructors to expand in order to gain metal, which is necessary for unit production. If you're not sure how to expand, as a rule of thumb, just press W plus Ctrl plus left mouse button to instantly put a solar panel and a mech, and then maybe put a lotus nearby for a bit of protection. And don't forget about the radar, because you want to see your enemy. In order to use all that metal, you need energy, since all units in the game cost the same amount of metal and energy. Your production values are displayed at the top of the screen. Make sure the energy income is bigger than the metal income. The excess energy that is not used directly is used for some units with special ability, or, which is more important, to overdrive the mechs, which will make it mine more metal for you to use. However, for that to happen, they need to be connected via energy grid, through energy structures or energy pylons. The overdrive works in inverse square root, meaning that the more you overdrive, the more energy it will require to overdrive further, meaning that you should prioritize capturing new mechs rather than overdriving existing ones into oblivion. You're not gonna get them more than 300% anyway. The excess metal, however, is not spent anywhere and is simply thrown away, which is essentially like throwing away money that you can't fit in your pocket. So make sure to spend all your metal so it won't go to waste, and maybe build a storage or two. In order to spend your metal, you need build power. The most effective source of build power is a caretaker with 10 metal per second, aka you can spend 10 metal per second. Factory and the commander have the same build power, but cost way more. Constructors have from 5 to 10 metal per second depending on the constructor. So in order to spend all the metal you need enough build power to be used, which is essentially the amount of income you have. Do not overdo the amount of build power, however, because having more of it without more metal will not speed up your construction, making the metal spent useless for the moment, while it could be used for units to punish the enemy or protect yourself, or for the economy. A thing that newbies often do is keep their commander at base. This is wrong, for a commander is a constructor that can protect itself, which makes him excellent for expanding. If it dies, you lose storage and some income, but it is not the end of the world, so do not be too afraid to use it aggressively. During your playtime, there will be times when there's a lot of scavenge left after the battle. Thing is, it's not just wrecks. This right here is almost 2000 metal just laying on the floor. As you can imagine, this will considerably help you during your battles if you manage to take it. Thing is though, your opponent will try to do the same, and will try to stop you from getting any reclaim. So make sure to protect your constructors while you are taking it. Reclaim is extremely important because it's an additional method of acquiring metal. And the more metal you have, the better. Essentially, reclaim and your armies will be absolutely freaking gigantic. And that's what you want, right? And an extra 10 tips that should be helpful for a new lobster like you. Remember those. First, scout the enemy to know what he's up to and react accordingly. If you want to increase unit production, put caretakers near your factory instead of using constructors to assist or making a new factory. Third, later on you can make a new different factory to diversify your unit pool, so do that if you think it will benefit you. Four, always watch out for excess. If you can't deal with it, use it to upgrade your commander, so it won't go to waste completely. Speaking of, you can upgrade your commander, though don't overdo it because it's not that effective. Typically you never go past level 5. Five, put radars on your expansions and on high vantage points. That will allow to see the enemy before he approaches and react. It's very cheap, so you can slap them all around the map. That is very important, do not forget. Six, depending on the map, you will want to start with different factory. Vehicle factories are good for maps with flat terrain. Bot factories are good at hilly terrain. Jump bots and spiders can be used at mountainous terrain due to jumping and being able to climb the walls accordingly. Ships are for sea, and air is not to be started with unless you're going for a cheese, or you're in a teams match with 3 or more people on your team. Air is not cost effective, that's the main reason. 7. If you want to use wind generators, check for wind minimum. If it is 0, you will periodically get no energy from them. As a rule of thumb, minimum should be 0.4 at least for them to be worth it. While fighting, count the metal and roll match up. If the enemy unit pack has more value, you might still be able to beat it if you have a correct roll. And vice versa, you can lose even with using the correct unit if there is not enough of them. 9. Projectiles gain and lose range depending on height, so use that to your advantage. 10. Never chase Kodachis. Just don't. So, new lobster, armed with this knowledge, hop onto matchmaking in a 1v1 or get into a custom lobby and use it to fight the other lobsters. Good luck and looking forward to see you in game or in a lobster pot. До свидания. Later on, you can make a new different factory to diversify your unit pool, so do that if it is there. Upon launching, when fighting enemy units, look at what your The less turrets you have, the more units you have to punish the enemy. If you're not sure how to expand, as a rule of thumb, just press W plus Ctrl plus left mouse button. In order to use all that metal, you need energy, since all your units in the... Fucking hell, my tongue is not mine today. And it...